Those of you who spend any time looking at what's happening in Western and especially North American culture will be aware of the fact that over recent years there's been an upsurge in what's called wokeism. Now this word woke, it's a word which is now used as a term of criticism, of abuse, of contempt for people who indulge in what's sometimes called cancel culture or no platforming or the Me Too movement and so on. These are activists on the far wing, if you like, of the wokeist movement. And in the rhetorical battle, which the culture wars consist in, too little attention is paid to the other extreme. So if we think of the culture war battle as a battle between a kind of social left and a social right, then the far left of the culture war is where we see the wokeism activists, the cancel culture, and so on. Too little attention is paid to the far right. If you look at the United States, at the social media in the United States, you see that on the far right there are neo-Nazis, misogynists, manosphere people, people who say terrible things, awful, dreadful things on the far right, but they get much less attention than the people on the far left. And my argument in this book is that we should dig beneath the rhetorical battle between all the extreme things that are said and done on both sides and look at what is really at issue. And what is at issue is discrimination. Racism, sexism, homophobia, the marginalization of minority groups, the refusal to provide a fair place in society, inclusion in society, for people who don't fit some kind of putative norm. And that this great endeavor against discrimination has been going on ever since the middle of the last century. After the Second World War, especially, for example, in the 1960s with the civil rights movement in the US, with second wave feminism, with the gay rights movement, there's been a tremendous effort to push back against discrimination by people who before then, some of them, did not even have the right to ask for their rights. People who were enslaved, people who were second-class citizens or who didn't have legal status in society, like women until very, very recently in historical times. And so this was an effort to try to make society fairer and more inclusive, to push back against discrimination. And that endeavor, since the 1960s, has been very successful. The position of people of color in the United States, of women in most of the Western world, of gays. I mean, until the 1960s, it was a criminal offense to be homosexual in the United Kingdom. Now, people of the same sex can marry. So these are marks of a tremendous success in the effort against discrimination. As each stage of success was reached by the forces of anti-discrimination, so that empowered them to ask for more. And of course, the more success these movements have had, the more the interests of people who are against those movements, who want to maintain some kind of privilege for their race or for their sex or for their sexuality, the more angry and embattled they become. And what we see in today's United States, in this second Trump term, and I will be very neutral about Mr. Trump and just say about him that he's absolutely ghastly, but he and all his epigones have enacted a kind of assault against this endeavor to bring discrimination to an end by dismantling the diversity, equity, inclusion programs, by dismantling the critical race theory and history, which is trying to educate Americans about their own history, the history of slavery, of the Jim Crow laws, and the long-term effects of discrimination. And so what we see in the culture wars, really, is, on the one hand, people seeking their rights and a fair place, and on the other side, people seeking to defend their interests by perpetuating discrimination. And what I argue for in this book is that what we should seek to do is to recognize that this is a matter about human rights. Human rights are about individuals. In order for every individual to enjoy his or her human rights fully, other people have to respect them. Only think. Look at any regime of human rights and you will see that they are consistent. There are no rights that conflict with other rights. Rights only conflict with interests. Regimes of human rights are internally consistent. And if everybody in the world respected the human rights of everybody else in the world would be a much, much better place. And what we would see is the desirable outcome of peace in society, which takes the form of a recognition and an acceptance of the fact that we are a very diverse species, the human species, very diverse in many different ways, and that the way to think about things is not to try to seek cultural, ethnic, national identity and conformity. Instead of looking for a unity in the cultural, political, and nationalistic terms in a society, we should look for something else. Not unity, but harmony. What we should be seeking to do is to reprise a situation which is said to have existed in the Iberian Peninsula in Spain in the medieval period, when there were Christians and Muslims and Jews all living together in Spain peacefully. And that period was known as a period of convivencia. Convivencia, a word which means the ability to live together. Accept, acknowledge differences, even indeed appreciate them, not see them as sources of tension and conflict, but to be accepting of those differences and allowing people their space. So my argument is that that is the aim that we should be seeking in society, respecting human rights, seeing that that means that we must achieve harmony, not unity. Harmony, not identity. Harmony, not a forced commonality.